Hello and welcome once again to another episode on the White Dog Garage YouTube channel. In this episode we're going to repurpose this old set of aluminium louvers meant to cover a window for a different window, and I'd love you to follow along. I'm going to be using my miter saw to cut all the aluminium that's involved in this rework. I could just use the miter saw blade. It's tungsten tip. This is the one I use for wood. However, I have a special blade meant for aluminium. This blade makes a very smooth cut. I've got some very light components I'm going to cut here, so it's all the more important not to have a ripped cut as opposed to a smooth, almost machine-like cut. I don't know how well you can see this blade, but rather than having an offshoot one way or the other, which is typical of a wood blade, this has more diamond end shaped teeth, and that produces a smooth cut in the aluminium. So my first job is to change blades. Having disconnected the power to the miter saw, I remove the guard from the blade. I engage the spindle block to hold the blade and undo the holding bolt. In this case the bolt has a left-hand thread, and I turn the spanner clockwise to undo it. Having removed the old blade, I fitted the replacement blade, taking note of the directional arrows on both it and the saw body. With the replacement blade fitted, bolted up tight, and the guard reinstalled, I was finally ready to cut some aluminium. If you have watched some of my aluminium machining videos, you would have seen me use WD-40 as the cutting fluid. However, here I'm using beeswax as the lubricant and have a cylinder of it that I simply applied by cutting into it with the spinning blade. The louver set will be mounted on a wall, and I needed to make a triangular hanger frame to which the stringers will be attached, and I used the miter saw to cut the frame members from 19mm by 19mm by 1.2mm thick box section aluminium extrusion. The wall will form one side of the triangle, so I only needed to cut the bottom and the top, or the base and the hypotenuse if you want to get technical. The bottom was cut square at both ends, but the top was cut at 60 degrees for the wall end and 30 degrees for the hanger end. I also then cut 4 lengths of 25 by 3mm flat aluminium to use as end brackets. Realising that the end brackets needed to have one end cut at 30 degrees, I clamped the four of them together in the vise and used a hacksaw to do this. It is too dangerous to cut short lengths like these, be they wood or aluminium, with the miter saw. Oh, if you're looking at that vodka bottle and wondering what gives, it holds only water. I still have all my fingers because I know for a long time that machines, sharp tools and alcohol do not play well together. Then it was off to the drill press to pre-drill the holes for attaching to the frame members and the Louvre hangers. Again, I stack drilled the four brackets. To fabricate the two hangers, I have put together a fixture consisting of a short length of aluminium box section, a rectangular steel block clamped at right angles to each other and resting on a steel plate, to which I then positioned and clamped the hanger frame members. I have already pre-drilled some holes in the frame members, to which I then attached the first bracket using blind rivets. Unclamping the frame, I used a pencil and sliding square to transfer the bracket position across to the other side. Then, using the steel block as the end reference, I positioned and clamped the frame in place and attached the second bracket to the other side. I then went on to make the second hanger frame in the same way before moving on to make the brackets to attach the frames to the wall. 4 brackets were needed for this, 2 with 90-degree bends and 2 with 120-degree bends. For each bracket, I marked the centre of the bend on one end of a length of 25 by 3 mm flat aluminium bar and then bent the angle using a press brake With the angle bent, I then marked the opposite end of the bracket and cut it off using the miter saw. With brackets all formed, I then used the drill press to pre-drill the holes for attachment to the frame and to the wall. Once this was done, I then moved to attaching the brackets to the end of the frames, again using blind rivets. With the frames all done, I then moved on to the stringers. This is a cut down version of the original Louvre set, and I need to remove 3 Louvre holders from each of 2 stringers, as well as the top mounting bracket. I did this by drilling through the existing blind rivets. With the Louvre holders removed, I then used the miter saw to cut back the length of each stringer. Because the Louvre holders would have fouled the saw fence, preventing a clean cut, I've made a temporary fence using a length of 40 by 40 mm hollow section steel. Back at the bench, I then fitted a hanger to the top of the stringer, making sure that the base of it was square to the hanger, and the distance from the inside of the hanger to the wall, which was imaginary in this case, was the same for the hanger as it was for the bottom wall bracket. So I've made the two top brackets. All I have to do now is cut the louvers to size and paint it. The old levers were 1900mm long, which allowed me to cut two 900mm long ones from each of those levers to easily give me the 12 that I needed for this job. With the 12 louvers and 2 lever hangers completed, it was off to paint. The painting is not being shown, but it is worth mentioning that after cleaning and sanding, the unpainted aluminium was painted with an etch primer first, and every component was finished by being spray painted with white acrylic paint. I've made a wooden frame and mocked up the louver set so that you can have an appreciation of what it will look like when it's put in place. The original louver set was meant, or did hang from an awning, so that goes on the front of the fascia board and it hangs down from there. This one won't be hanging from an awning, it'll be freestanding over a window. You will see at the top, or you'll see from the video, that at the top I have provided a triangle that serves two purposes. One, to provide triangulation for the frame to increase its rigidity, and the second purpose is that once it is fitted, it will have a shade that runs across the top, and that will be the angle of the shade. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I'd welcome a thumbs up, and please share it amongst your friends. Share it amongst people who aren't even your friends. It's all good. If you like fixing things, if you like making things, if you like maintaining things, if you like renovating things, then I'm sure this is a channel for you. So if you haven't already subscribed, please think about subscribing. I would welcome your subscription. It's easy to do. Just hit the subscribe bar down below. While you're there, ding the bell so that you're reminded every time a new video comes out. Thank you.